Small town. Damn, that's you strictly. Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is Michael Jeffrey Jordan's birthday. If you're not familiar with the name, six-time NBA champion, six-time NBA Finals MVP, five-time MVP, 14-time NBA All-Star, which we'll get to the All-Star weekend in a second, three-time NBA All-Star Game MVP. I mean, Rookie of the Year in 85, 10-time NBA scoring champion, three-time NBA steals leader, slam dunk contest twice in champion. I mean, the Bulls retired 23. He went to North Carolina, unfortunately. Happy birthday, Michael Jordan. We appreciate everything that you've done for the game. I mean, partly the reason I love the game so much is because I was able to watch highlights, when I was young with the old heads that I was hanging out with. So big shout out to Michael Jordan, MJ23, the GOAT, as many will say. Happy birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back to give you the real in sports. As always, I'm your co-host, Small Town EP, joined by Wade Julian. He's live from New York City. I'm live from Atlanta. You are now tuned in to your number one sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. June, before we started, you had the little beanie on. I know New York's been getting hit with crazy snow for the past I think y'all in the permanent tundra until further notice. I don't think the groundhog saw his shadow a couple of weeks ago because I know y'all still freezing up there.
Yeah, bro. And I think tomorrow we're gonna be in like the teens again. So, I mean, that's just what comes with winter, I guess. These are like the dog days of winter, February. So I've heard. But it's not about that, man. It's about like you said. We're gonna celebrate a goat, a legend's birthday today, Michael Jordan. Shout out to Michael Jordan. This is somebody who has had an impact on so many of our lives to the extent where we can't even explain. You just have to see it. And when I say that, you could be walking down the street in Harlem, you're gonna see Michael Jordan's, impact. You could be at a basketball game, and you might notice some sort of impact from Michael Jordan with someone's jersey number. You go to this court, you see a style. Like, bro, it's so much influence that this man has on the world. And he was a star in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, he's been a star for forever and he still is, but that was the height of his stardom in the 80s and 90s. And here we are in 2025, still spending money on his and his name brand because of how fly he is and what he did and what he means to sports and the culture in general. So shout out to Mr. Jeffrey Jordan. Michael, um, Space Jam is a top three favorite movie of mine, so I gotta give him credit there. Uh, and yeah, we just gonna make sure that we get to keep giving him his flowers while he's here because um, unlike a lot of legends in the past that have had an impact like his on the world. We can't talk about him in a sense of like what he still can do. So let's be grateful for that. Shout out to Michael Jordan.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Let's get straight into the All Star Weekend. A lot of things. We talked about the new format uh, last week, and how we were kind of excited about it. Before we get into any of the viewers right now, if you're viewing this, appreciate you for tapping in. You're seeing Draymond Green versus Charles Barkley. We'll get to that in a second. But June, what did you think of the outcome of the new format?
I
Did,
I think I think it was I think they missed, but I also think that that's okay because what else were they supposed to do when trying to give the fans something refreshing? If you miss because, for example, EA Sports, right? They come out with Madden every single year, and we tell
yeah,
them, like, game developers, we want the franchise mode to include this, that, and the third. 2K is levels ahead. Madden just keeps kind of putting out the same product with a new title on it. The NBA All Star Game could have went that route, but they felt let's switch it up. Let's try to do something interesting. Let's try to make it quote unquote fun or whatever it is that can justify an airline ticket, a hotel stay, and a ticket to get into the arena for that weekend. Um, the fans deserve it, and so I'm not mad at them for how it all came about, but did they miss the mark? Probably. There was a lot of like entertainment. There was the celebrity or Mr. Beast had Dame Lillard with the fans shooting, which was cool. But it took so much time away from the All Star game. They had Kevin Hart, which I like Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a hilarious guy. I'd love to meet him, watch his movies sometimes. His stand up is good, great. But for that, I don't think we needed it. And I think it was kind of like, it was also like cringy, because the NBA is at the same time trying to better this product and make it a watchable thing and make it an enjoyable experience finally. And, they kind of have Kevin Hart just ragging on it. And so it was a little counterintuitive, but I guess, like I said, the fact that they tried is what made me excited because when we talked about this on Thursday, I felt, we're gonna have two different games. We'll have the young guys versus the OGs, which actually was a good game for what it was worth. So it led me to the TV, but there was at one point where they stopped the game because they were stopping the games at every 15 um, points, and they stopped the game at like 30, and they stopped the game for like 20 minutes, and they had like a presentation. Oh, it was when they gave the Shaq and Chuck and Kenny and Ernie their flowers and the fishing stuff. It was funny, but like, bro, the game was off for like 20 something minutes. It was one of those jersey retirement halftime shows, and so yeah, it just dragged out a lot. And overall, I think the dunk contest was pretty fun. I think Stephen Castle did an amazing job versus Mac McClung. Arguably could have won that. And you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the boy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the boy Tyler Hero. The man won it. You know what I'm saying? Every time we get a Heat contestant in a 3-point contest, they bring that back to Miami. So definitely was happy to see that. Those are kind of like my thoughts in a nutshell, but definitely down to get more into it. How do you feel about All Star Weekend 2025 from Grand State, Golden State, Jimmy Butler's new home?
yeah, shout out to Hill for winning that. You called it, so shout out to you for calling that. I, look, Saturday is Saturday. I think that's probably the more entertaining day. It's been the more entertaining day for the past some odd years at this point. The skills challenge I like. They didn't do the knockout shootout that they did last year, did they?
Um,
Because I
No, not a
actually,
skill
yeah,
challenge.
I
No,
I
it was
liked.
it was like you didn't even have to make the shots, which we'll get into. That was pretty weird. But
I was gonna reference that in a second. Saturday, I mean, it's the day. The dunk contest entertaining. Shout out to Mac McClung, 3-time champion, twice in the G League, once in the NBA. The dunk contest. I mean, it's still what it's meant to be. Did Are the players that we want to be in a dunk contest always in the dunk contest? No, not necessarily. We'll all agree to that. But that product Saturday's product of All Star Weekend hasn't faltered a bit. It's obviously Sunday. Um, it left a bit to be desired, I would say. I mean, like you said, there was more commercials and intermissions and entertainment than there was, you know, leather on the court. You know what I mean? And business is booming. You know, they just signed a new 11 year, $76 billion deal with the TV stations and things like that. So business is booming in the NBA, and as we know, it is a business. Uh, I mean, it's
Yeah.
the All Star Weekend, and a lot of people are announcing and voicing, you know, their discontent with it, including Jamon Green, which I'm sure producers were like, "Yo, someone turn his mic off, bro, because he's going off right now." You know, mention things like it took you all year to be an All Star, and you get to play up to 40, and then you're done. This is so unfair to Victor Wembanyama, who just took this game really seriously, which I'll get to in a second. SGA, who just took this game really seriously. He goes on to say that it's a boring product at this point. Charles Barkley, during the All Star game, kind of, you know, replied and was like, "Hey, I hear you, but this is y'all fault. Like, this is the players' fault that we're here." What are your takes on the, I guess, both of the comments between Draymond Green and Charles Barkley?
Run me back the. I was so caught up on Draymond's that Charles might have slipped me. Run it back what Charles said to me.
I'll tell you right now. Charles essentially was saying that he doesn't want to hear it because this is essentially the players' fault that we're here.
All right, yeah,
Their
yeah,
lack
yeah.
of their lack
He's
of
kind of
effort, their lack of, you know, interest in the All Star game, teams scoring up to damn near 300 points. You know what I mean? In the game is the reason that we're here.
yeah. So I gotta back this camera up. By the way, I'm a little. I ain't know how close I was looking on set. It's kind of crazy, but um, I think for Draymond, the comments. I understand you wanting to express a message. I understand you wanting to, you know, get people to see it your way. But you look at Charles Barkley's comments, and it's kind of true. Richard Jefferson also made these comments where, you know, the players' lack of effort is the reason we're seeing the demise of the All Star game. You know, there's guys the scores went up to like 180, 170, and there's no defense and no competitiveness. It looks like the Pro Bowl. So I just think it's like, why is Draymond the spokesperson of the All Star game? Like, how we should fix it. Like, Draymond hasn't been an All Star since, you know, the Warriors had Durant on their team. And it's not even like to be petty or take a shot at Draymond. It's not about that. But it's just like, you're not even an All Star. So why are you even speaking about the All Star games? Have you been one? Of course. Like, but are you this perennial All Star that like we should really listen to advocating new ideas for the All Star game? I don't really think so. Oscar Robertson has a video the other day. He's like, Draymond said this and that and the third. Who cares what Draymond got to say? And that's how I feel. Much like who cares what Michael Parsons got to say, but that's neither here nor there. So I think for Draymond, it was a little like, damn, you ain't had to try to rise in stars like that. Like they just were there. You know, they didn't ask for this. They're just competing as they were told. And so you kind of calling them out like, yo, y'all just rising stars. Y'all supposed to be there on Friday night. Y'all not supposed to be there on Sunday night. We worked so hard to get here. But it's just like, yo, y'all worked so hard to get there. And credit to all stars in the NBA who did make it and who do make it. It's not an easy feat. So I understand the sentiment of wanting it to be its own thing and, you know, excluding it from just the masses of the league. However, year after year after year for the last several years, the fans have complained. I'm sure there's been talks within the NBA and the PA, you know, like we got to figure out a way to get this thing more competitive. And it just hasn't worked. So Silver steps in and regardless if you're on this side of Silver, like him, hate him, he's going to try to innovate. He's going to try to change. And I don't always agree. And like, you know, we don't necessarily agree with the way he did it here. But again, I could understand why you're going to these measures to try to make this more entertaining because, um, you know, he same results, expecting different. I mean, what is it?
Yeah. Same results, doing the same thing over and over
Doing
again,
the same
expecting
thing,
different
expecting the same
results.
result.
It's a definition of insanity.
You know.
Clinton Yates was on Unsportsmanlike this morning, and he was mentioning that the NHL switched their format this year, and we're in the group chat. We're all tapped into the NHL, Four Nations
Yeah.
competition this week. They don't have an All Star weekend this anymore. They've changed. They've since changed. The NFL obviously had to change their Pro Bowl, from the time of year, from the end of the year, from after the Super Bowl to before the Super Bowl, and then switched over to a flag football and skills competition type of thing. The NBA, Clayton Yates was saying, is a little particular because we're far away from the days that you had players like Muggsy Bogues and Manute Bol, and athleticism was such. There was a gap in certain players' athleticism, and where today, to no fault of anybody's own, you know what I mean? Like no one's, asked to be born with such athleticism, but everyone is kind of the same height, kind of the same build, you know what I mean? For the most part, kind of have the same, athletic abilities and things like that. Eh, Is All Star Weekend fixable, June?
I don't. I mean, it's up to the players. That's the thing. It's entirely up to the players. What we saw, I saw a tweet earlier that was like a clip. It was a compilation of like highlights from the 2000 All Star game of just like easy open dunks and things like that. And they're like, oh, they were saying that the All Star game was so much more competitive. You guys just want to complain about something. It was no defense back then. There isn't now. And I do agree that. I mean, first of all, it's the All Star game, so this is not. We're not trying to see Game 7 of the NBA Finals. That's not what the fans are asking for. And in 2000, there was just a competitive spirit around the game from 2000, even leading into the early 2010s when Derrick Rose was an all-star. And so there was that competitiveness that regardless of anything, you don't want we don't want to lose this game. It's not like, all right, we lose, we lose. It was we don't want to lose. And I think Kobe Bryant was like the last pillar, for real in that competitive in the All-Star game. So is there a way to fix it? I think guys just gotta care. Who's gonna be that guy? Who's gonna be that dog? And I thought this year would have been a great example would have been Anthony Edwards, but it was hard to individualize anybody with this format because the games were so short and fast, and it feels like guys didn't even get to really break a sweat. So there was nobody to really have like an impact on the game for real, and so that's where we look at if they do change it back to East versus West, can we have a guy like Anthony Edwards who chose to sit out yesterday due to injury? Would we have a guy like him, or who's going to be the guy that like really, really takes it a bit serious and kind of sets the example? So it's not about trying your hardest out there and risking injury, but it's about putting on an entertaining and competitive show for the fans at the end of the day. So it's nothing we could do. It's nothing Adam Silver could do at the end of the day. They really got to just put it in the hands of the players, which it's been, and hopefully they will, I guess, rectify. Because we've seen it. We've seen All Star Weekend be the best thing in sports for an era. We've just lost that. So
Yeah, and I understand the not wanting to be injured. One of the reasons that the NFL moved from an actual football game to a flag football game was players didn't want to risk injury. Now, I guess one of my pushbacks to that, in part specifically towards the NBA, is in the offseason we get clips of these pickup games, at the Summit in New York and at the Drew League, where y'all look like it's like you were saying, like it's Game 6, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and y'all are going all out to for the recognition,
yeah,
for the Drew League, for your pickup game, your 5-on-5 at the Summit in New York. So that's my pushback to that. Like, I guess I see both sides to it. I see both sides to it. We mentioned that skills competition and the disqualification that I want to mention. Hey, look, man, I I know the arena was booing. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. You know me. I love being able to beat the game with your mind. You know what I mean? I appreciate the wittiness. It was cool. I appreciate Chris Paul taking the heat for it when it was really Wembanyama's decision to skip through shots, essentially, in order to get the fastest time. Um, there should have been some type of rule. I don't think they should have been disqualified. There should have been some type of rule. The NBA should have foresaw this, that someone might just toss little, whatever's up. Uh, I appreciate it. Disqualification, neither here nor there. How'd you feel about their little skills competition run?
I mean, I didn't know it was Wembanyama's idea, and not Chris Paul's. I thought this was all something out of Chris Paul's book. But being that it was, it just makes me that much more invested in Wembanyama's career because that's how competitive he is and how much he wants to really terrorize his league. He's learning from one of the more evil spirits of the league, and I say that with a lot of grace. Chris Paul, I love Chris Paul, but he's like a villain in this league, and so um, Wembanyama's learning all those little tricks of the trade and how to have that competitive edge and I guess be a little sour about certain shit. So let's do it. As far as the disqualification, I'm so with it. Like I'm with Donovan Mitchell with the thumbs down. Yeah, like I mean, listen, had they have went last and did that, give it to them. Genius. But you can't be first. And now everybody got to do
It
that.
sets a
So
bad
it's like,
precedent. Yeah.
yeah, it just sets a bad precedent. It sets, we can't because one, the next team is like we can't just do this too, and two, if we do, now it's like what kind of product is the NBA really putting out here on this floor? So they had to set the example and be like, look, you can't fucking do that, regardless if we said it or not. Why would you think that was cool? Next, you feel me? So who won the Cavs, right?
Yes. The Cavs won. We had Ja and Giannis tweeting to each other about possibly doing the dunk contest next year, which I think would be super exciting. Is that a product that you would want to see next year, June?
I think John Moran is definitely excited. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I forgot he was in a dunk contest actually in the 2015 uh, NBA dunk contest, I believe, which was in Brooklyn. And yeah, he is an in-game dunker for sure. He's somebody that can dominate on the floor and make some powerful slams. He might hit you with the Space Jam from far, but I don't know that he has that excitement for and creativity for a dunk contest. And I certainly don't want to see him use Thanasis, his brother, as a prop. Um, for All Star Weekend. But Zach Levine was also mentioned in a tweet with Aaron Gordon. So I would love to see the likes of Zach Levine, Aaron Gordon again, which I doubt. But Ja Morant, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, look, what we want to see is the stars. So if you're the best dunker or not, cool. But if you got that name, if you got that verification check next to your name, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna tap in. So the more stars participating, look at the 3-point contest, bro. That's an all-star lineup right there. You know what I'm saying? You got a bunch of guys in that game that could be all NBA, that could be all stars. Like we get it. But the dunk contest, I don't know if social media, man, what it is though, but them boys is scared to pull the tricks out the bag for real.
We saw, and this was sent through our group chat earlier. It's Katie being a bit sarcastic on Twitter, saying, "Oh, brother, just cancel the entire weekend. Give us the week off." You know what I mean? I was amused by that, but and like they said, there is some truth in every joke. You think that'd be good for the NBA? Just give the players a week off?
No, no, because with football, we're used to not having the NFL for a week. We're used to that, and at the end of the day, when you have a bye week, that's every other team is playing. There's other games going on. Like we're not forgetting about the NFL for a week. So if the NBA just cold turkey for a week during the season, I mean that's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like similar to what the WNBA did during the Olympics. It was like there was this period of like season and then Olympic play and then like WNBA season. So I mean, not to say anybody's gonna ever forget about the NBA, obviously, but I just I don't think anything sitting idle for too long is too good. So no, I wouldn't agree that that would be a good idea. Plus, you have millions of fans who tune into the All Star game. Let's not act like this is you know a failure every weekend. Like they're making so much money, they're getting so much return, they're making new fans, and All Star Weekend is an experience in itself. So like whatever city gets to host makes a lot of money.
Hmm.
You get to have a lot of that environment for the weekend in your city, and I think that grows the game of basketball immensely. So no, All Star Weekend is definitely a great idea. It's a great thing for the sport, and again, it's like the fans are just begging the players to care a little more so that we could watch something more entertaining than Kevin Hart, you know, telling Shaquille O'Neal he looks like a porn director.
or in LeBron's locker trying on his shoes and doing the powder toss and things like that. It's interesting, like growing up and watching All Star Break and being like, oh man, I can't wait to get older. You see all the celebrities. I thought there's a lack of celebrities there as opposed to compared to the mid early 2000s. Like everybody's at the All Star
It
Weekend.
was the place to be for sure.
Yeah. And just me being young and being like, damn, I can't wait to get older and go to All Star Weekend. And now I'm like, I mean, maybe if it comes to Atlanta, I'll figure it out. I'll go. Or like on like I guess the entertainment side of that, the music side of that, watching like MTV Spring Break and be like,
Yeah,
can't wait to go to Panama
yeah.
City, man. And now I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to Panama City like that. Like, yeah, you know. So it's interesting to see the evolution. I mentioned the NHL is now doing the Four Nations Cup. Is that something that you think would be a good product, having like a overseas
I mean,
versus you know
well, the thing about well, shit, because I don't know how they dumbed it down to four nations in Canada. Maybe there are only four nations that are super dominant in the sport, but to me, it's like what four nations? I mean, unless you do like eight nations, but like if you were to do four nations, I mean, you got U.S., you got Spain, you got Argentina, you got France, and right there you still got Canada, you still right. So like, how are we playing this? And so if we do like an eight-team thing, could be cool, but that's like FIBA at that point, and it's like, don't they have FIBA for that?
facts, big facts, big
This is
facts,
the
big facts.
NBA All Stars, bro. Like now, I feel like Draymond, bitch. The All Stars. We want to see the stars, but it's about the stars doing star shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, show us why you here.
Shout out to the chat, Ray's in there, Ant's in there, Ant saying there's no pride in winning the All Star game anymore, which is essentially, what we've been going over and what we've been
Yeah.
saying. There needs to be some
East
sort.
versus West. They used to do the East versus West. You get the home court if you win. I think they go back to that. Whoever wins the All Star game gets home court for the finals. Um, what bigger pride to have, in the middle or second half of the season where you know that we have a good enough team that if I win this All Star game, we can have home court in the finals. We need that versus Boston. You know what I'm saying? Like we need that versus OKC. And so, or if you're the Knicks and it's OKC, it's like you got Brunson and Cat starting shit. You know what I'm saying? We're going hard. So like, I think the conversation has to be a little more serious. More money, obviously. The incentive always has to revolve somewhat around money, in my opinion. So you put a price out there. The NBA is making so much back from that All Star weekend, like I mentioned. So I wouldn't have a problem with them paying the players a little more for them to do more. Um, and then yeah, have the incentive for the conference winner of the game. And after that, I don't know. I mean, if they don't care, then you know why should we?
Why should we? Oh man, is there anything else you want to go over as far as All Star Weekend, June, before we get over to a little bit of college basketball and then a little bit of MLB too? We got some Yankee and Red Sox drama in the in the locker rooms going on between Rafael Devers for Boston and Marcus Stroman. Sounds so stupid, but we'll get to that in a second. In a second. Um, Hey, we got two top 25 matchups tonight in college basketball. One of them being our very own Duke on the road at Virginia, laying 14 and a half, 13 and a half points according to ESPN bet. Apologies. ACC matchup on the road. Is that too many points, June?
I don't know. I mean, Duke does have the most double-digit wins this season at 19. So I right now with 6 games left in the season, it's time to buckle up. It's time for us to really show it. What we got going into this ACC tournament, and what better way than to cover a nice spread like that. So I would go ahead and take that. I don't think Duke is in losing mode right now. We are in all gears on. By the way, Florida and Gonzaga are behind at number two, tied with 18 double-digit wins this season for second most in the country.
That's a great stat. The late night game that features a top 25 matchup is going to be number 19 Arizona on the road at Baylor. Baylor a point and a half favorite, which is very interesting. They are unranked. I'm going to tap into that game and see what's going on there. That's at the Foster Pavilion in Waco, Texas. This weekend on Saturday, we saw a clash of number one and number two Auburn at Alabama. Auburn being
Yeah.
number one ranked, Alabama being number two ranked for now. We'll see, how they turn out this week. We saw 104 points scored in the second half of that game, June. I was tapped in. You mentioned to me that you were tapped in. That Broom kid from Auburn, kid is the real deal.
Yeah.
That kid is the
And
real
one, that boy was hitting everything.
playing through injuries. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
talk to me about some of your takeaways from that matchup.
Well, shout out to Auburn. I mean, that's the best team in the country. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that Auburn was tied for the longest number one streak in the country since guess who? Guess who? 6 weeks. Guess who? Guess what season? Guess what team?
Ooh, you made me guess. I'm just gonna guess Duke for the sake of
Nah,
guessing Duke.
2014, 2015 Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm.
Carl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, them boys. It was so they've been number one for 6 weeks straight. Shout out to Auburn and what they're doing. Bama, to credit them, I mean, there were times in this game where it was like kind of getting out of hand, even though they were at home. We just see that Auburn was the better team all night. However, they stuck with it. There was a big run in the second half with about 6 minutes left or so.
It was
And
a 10-0 run.
yeah, they started going crazy. But your boy Broom, I mean, there was not enough coverage for him. Bama never led in this game, and that was a big thing for me. They never trailed. They this is the first time under their coach in 87 home games, Nate Oates, that they didn't lead in a game at home. So
Yeah, it was definitely an intense game. It just seemed like Auburn. They let Bama go on a quick run, but they had a response for everything that Bama threw at them throughout the game, and they were able to pull away towards the end and secure the victory. Not only that, secure a little extra cash in my pocket on that Saturday afternoon because I definitely had some investments into that game. It was a great game.
hey, with six, I mentioned there was 6 games left. Cooper Flag. We talk about like, and this is the interest. He's a very interesting kid to me because I've been excited watching him here and there throughout the season on Duke. He's had ups and downs. He's been able to figure things out. He's been able to go with the flow. They talk a big game about him, and he shows up. He's had moments where he goes out and underperforms in the big lights, or the moment in a close game might get too big for him. But the kid is like 18 years old. I mean, what do we expect from a guy who's a freshman at one of the best schools in the nation? Number three this week. Uh, Cooper Flag with 6 games left as a freshman. He has 494 points, 101 assists, and 29 blocks. In the last 25 years, we have not seen a player go for 500 points, 100 assists, and 30 blocks. So shout out to Cooper Flag because what he's doing is clearly amazing. And even though some people argue like, oh, he's overrated or XYZ, he's still doing things that are out of the ordinary in a positive way. And so to measure his success, we can use things like that to say, well, I mean, look, he might not be the most polished, he might not have the best handle, right? He might not have the best three-pointer in this draft, but this kid impacts winning, and what he can do on the floor on a night-to-night basis can cover from 1 to 5. You know what I'm saying? He has such a artillery there, so that's what makes him so special. Just wanted to shout out Cooper Flag um, because what he's done here for this season at Duke has been nothing less than historic, and I hope he goes on to the NBA to do some great shit. Shout out to shout out to shout out to Brill in the comments. He said little yacht EP.
Yo, he's funny as hell. Um, we have how many? One, two, three, 6 games left as far as Duke is concerned. So I'm gonna say that the majority of teams have about 6, 7, maybe 8 games left in their season as far as college basketball is concerned. We are, whew, a couple weeks away from March Madness, from the dance. We spoke about it last week briefly with like you were just saying, Cooper Flag, and we spoke on some of his inconsistencies playing in close games, but the kid is still putting up numbers regardless. Uh, he'll probably come out this year. I think he should stay, but
He better come out. He will. He will. He will. I mean, you know how privileged you have to be to say that and mean it. Oh, I wish you motherfucking would, Cooper Flag. Which I mean, look, as a Duke fan, shit, we get Cameron and Caden Boozer, Cooper Flag. I mean, we got class there. That's a national championship team for sure. But
for shit
um,
show.
nah, man. Come on, come out, do something special. Maybe Wembenyama. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the Thunder. You know what I'm saying, I don't know. Maybe the Wizards. Where do you go? But that'll be fun. I do want to say Brill is an idiot. Shout out to Brill. He said, "Looking clean, my dog." Chiefs L had you rebrand. LMAO.
Crazy, crazy work, crazy work, crazy work. I know I mentioned it a second ago. I want to kick it over to baseball because we have some news on both of our favorite teams. One of them being your Boston Red Sox. We spoke about it last week. They signed Alex Bregman from the Houston Astros. Now there's controversy in the locker room as far as who's going to play third base. Rafael Devers is saying, "Hey, I am the third baseman. Third base is my position." June, talk to me about this and your feelings as well.
Personally, it sucks, right? This is the second time in a month and a half that the best player on my favorite team is having, a misunderstanding with upper management and coaching. And so that's never good when the star player doesn't see eye to eye with how things are being handled or what they're being asked to do. It ultimately led to Jimmy Butler leaving the Miami Heat. That ended poorly, probably more because of who the parties were in the situation. I don't presume this to be the same type of situation or ending, because I do feel like the ending is inevitable at this point. And if Alex Cora can't figure this out, and when I say figure this out, it's win baseball games. Because if Rafael Devers is upset and he doesn't want to play DH, and Cora says, "Well, you're gonna play DH, and I'm the best motherfucking manager in the AL, and we're gonna win this shit," and we go out there and we win 92 games, and you know what I'm saying, we topped running for number one, number two in the AL East. Yeah, I don't think Rafi Devers has that much of an issue with it, right? When we're competing for a championship there, but this is Rafi Devers, who, coming off of a championship in 2018, has seen this team and franchise just go down and down and down and not spend money, refuse to get better. And through all that, he signed a contract. He's played his ass off. He's gotten better, continue to dominate the Yankees, Garrett Cole specifically. And so he's done his job and owned up to his end of the bargain. But now he says he was promised to play third base. Now we get Bregman. Bregman, it's, I mean, mid-February, and you finally signing, your deal with the team, and now he kind of comes in and is started third baseman, and it's just like, I thought, and so I thought he was going to play second base, Bregman, when we signed him last week. That was the initial reports. Right now, I guess Cora's just going to do what's best for the team. And as a fan, again, I'm upset that the best player on the team is having a misunderstanding with upper management and coaching. But at the same time, do I want Alex Cora to make the best decision for the best product on the field? Absolutely. We're a poor defensive team. We can't afford to just do anything out there. So if we have a Gold Glover at third base like Bregman, you might want to use that, and I'm not mad at that. However, you do got a silver slugger over there at third base who is the best player on this team. I think he kind of gets to say what he wants to do too, and so that balance, this is where I've just become a fan and drift off into the distance. And hopefully, hopefully we keep Cora. Hopefully we keep Bregman. Hopefully we keep, what I'm saying, Devers. And hopefully we win some games. That's kind of all I can say about it right now, being as though spring training ain't really even started yet. We just in February. We'll see how things go in a month or so after Devers and Bregman are both, kind of taking infield reps.
Yeah, everybody's just pitchers and catchers and players are just reporting uh, for off season workouts
Is
and
that,
things like
bro?
that.
Is that?
So who doesn't get to just say whatever they want to say is Marcus Stroman. You sound like a doof when asked about, hey, will you come out of the bullpen? He said no. No one else is giving you 30 starts as consistently as I am. Sir, sir, you had the worst ERA that you've had in the last 7 seasons. The last time you had an ERA this bad, you were in Toronto, and you were probably the most fadeable pitcher that year. This is a
Wait, more than Corbin? Patrick Corbin?
that year in Toronto, he had a 5.94, I'm sorry, point.
Yeah, they ran him out of town. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, 5.54. Yeah, that's what it was. And he lasted another season, and then they shipped him off to New York. Then he went over to Chicago, and then went back to came to the Yankees and scored a 4.31 with a 1.47 WHIP, tied for his worst since his first season at the Mets. I mean, sir, I hear you. You've been in the league for 10 years. Um, you come, you show up, you do the job, but you're injured consistently. You're not giving. I wouldn't say you're not giving your all, but you're injured consistently, which is hindering you being able to give 100% throughout the entire season. Yeah, sure, you gave us 29 starts last season, 10 wins, 9 losses. You're barely over 500. It's not the Yankee way. Honestly, it's not. This is a what have you done for me lately? And last year you didn't do much for us. Honestly, you didn't even pitch in the postseason. So what are we talking about? You better consider coming out of the bullpen at this point and seeing how you can contribute to winning at the very least. Because them 10 wins last year, trust me, we can farm somebody else and bring them up, and probably they'll give us at least half of those wins. You know what I mean? So Marcus Stroman, wise up. And it wasn't even so much what you said; it was just the arrogance that you were saying it with. You're looking around like I'm him, like you're Mariano Rivera or something, bro. Like that's not the situation, bro. Wise up, or hey, we can ship you out. You could grow your beard back somewhere else if you want. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. I want to ask you your takes, but I know you're just gonna go off in a tangent about how much the Yankees suck and how much you
No. See,
hate
Marcus
them.
Stroman. The thing is, I'm a Marcus Stroman fan. I've always liked his game. I've always liked the fact that he is outspoken and confident and kind of does have that arrogance. But it's one of those like Jimmy Butler situations where when it's happening to you, you don't really like it that much. So it's like for me, I understand, like you said, that EP mentioned Marcus Stroman. He's 10-year vet. He comes in, he shows up, he does what he has to do, and he takes care of his business. And so for that, I think he does earn the right to feel a way. I think for that, he does earn the right to talk a certain way because he is a vet in this league. He has paid his dues. But as far as contributing to winning and being a great player and a winning player and an elite pitcher, you can't speak from that stance because you haven't shown that, at least lately.
Yeah.
It's not like Marcus Stroman's never been elite or never been a great starting pitcher in this league. He has. Right now, he isn't because all we saw was what you mentioned. The stats are there. I'm not going to rerun them. So right now, I wouldn't argue or cape for Marcus Stroman to be saying he would not come out the bullpen. I mean, brother, your bullpen stats. You know what I'm saying? You got bullpen stats, and not to say that can never get better or nothing like that, but.
Yeah,
I'll say this. I've seen that before. It's just again, it always feels different when it happens to you.
nah, for shit show. For shit show. June, you got anything else you want to go over before we get out of here?
1 second. Let me just double check the ESPN app. Let me see who's. We still got NBA All Star break, so we don't got basketball until what? Till Thursday.
So like
Or
so like Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday.
let's hope it's Wednesday. Okay. We're getting the Lakers Hornets rescheduled game. Um, And outside of that, man, we got no football, bro. We got no football. So, listeners, fans, we appreciate you listening, man. We're gonna start tightening up on college basketball. Obviously, NBA is in full effect, so get ready for all the NBA talk. Um, we'll tighten up, like I said, on college basketball, and we'll get into some hockey. Baseball spring training is gonna be there. So once you start smelling that grass and hopefully it gets a little warm around this motherfucker, we can go outside and toss a baseball.
Yeah,
So
if you're looking for some sports to watch, in other news, right now live, Maryland Eastern Shore and Howard are playing college basketball at Howard University. If you're looking looking for something to watch.
You could have went with West Virginia beating Kansas State women's basketball 55-47 in the close game in the fourth quarter. But
This was not so bad. 5 minutes left, first half, 22-29. You know, it might turn into something interesting. I do have a parlay where Howard's under 80 points, under team total 80 points. Don't take that now because you're not gonna get good numbers on it. But that's just for Nate for just talk that talk. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we cross over this 45-minute mark. This has been your President's Day, by the way. I don't know what that counts for, but today's President's Day. Shout out to Tyler Hero and the Miami Heat winning that 3-point contest. If you tapped in on the live, we appreciate you so much. If you're tuning in after the fact, thank you so much. As always, please like, follow, subscribe, follow at ATS Pod Official on Twitter. No, ATS Pod on Twitter, ATS Pod Official on Instagram. So sorry. And